is in the books, and Kansas City, the Super Bowl champs, close things out by taking the Kansas State defensive end Felix Anudike-Uzomah with the number 31 pick. The two-time Big 12 Defensive Lineman of the Year, was an All-American, also the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year last season.
Got rid of Frank Clark, right? Let him go. They need some pass rush help over there. Also, in the car over, talked to Andy Reid, kind of knew where they were going, either their offensive line or their front seven help. They got that.
Well, Will Levis is the big name that still, Steve, left out there on the board. What should we expect tomorrow as round 2 commences, and how that's going to impact Levis?
Well, I mean, I don't think that there's a question. Once this dust settles tonight, all these organizations will regroup, the general managers, the coaches, and they'll identify the players that they have at the top of the board still. And there's going to be a number of good players that are going to go in the first part of tomorrow, and a lot of teams jockeying to trade up to get those players. But I would think Will Levis would certainly be a guy that will be on a number of teams' radars tomorrow.
LaVar, you're on the radio in how many hours from now?
I don't know. Let's do the math here.
Short time.
12, all right, 2, 5, 6 hours.
All right,
I'll be back around.
So what do you think you and Brady are going to be talking about as far as takeaways from this first round tomorrow morning?
Well, I thought that there would be a lot of curveballs.
Mm-hmm.
That has been discussed, but I think this was kind of right down the lane of what a lot of people were anticipating, to be honest, outside of possibly what Will Levis, him not getting drafted yet. But I thought there would have been more quarterbacks. That might be the conversation. Only 3 quarterbacks went. There was one. If you would have said there was one more quarterback taken than running backs in the first round, if you would have took the over-under on that, you would have probably lost if you bet on that. So that's pretty interesting.
And here's the thing with Levis. I didn't have anybody who said, man, I love Levis.
Yeah.
I didn't have that. Right? Didn't have it. I think, he had such hype around him for so long, but, that's what ends up happening. And, listen, I will say this also, right? Because I was on the Houston Texans saying, man, they kind of messed up by not making that trade because they love Bryce Young, and man, they made a huge mistake, and they turned around and had a terrific draft in those first couple of picks.
What should we look forward to in the next couple rounds, Steve, coming your way as GMs and teams and head coaches regroup?
Again, I mean, I think that guys like Michael Mayer up there that are phenomenal football players that are still on the board for people to get excited about. Players
you got a lot of good tight ends still on the board. Yeah.
Players that have had first-round grades that, again, people can identify as saying in the second and third day of the draft, you're going to get a solid NFL starter, which is obviously huge for any NFL team moving forward.
Yeah, and also, look, you got the best center in the draft. You have some other guards available there. So there's really good value here at this position also.
Bryce Young going number 1, no surprise right there. C.J. Stroud going to Houston finally. Weren't really sure what they were going to do.
Which was a big surprise there, right? I think everybody threw us off there. And look, there were reports last couple of weeks about, no, he's not going. C.J. Stroud's not going. The Houston Texans aren't going quarterback number 2. And, they played smoke screens perfectly.
Well, not many teams have made multiple top 3 picks in the common draft era. Back in 2000, Washington did it with you, LaVar, and Chris Samuels.
I brought that up to y'all earlier. It was a quick little I shot it in there. I didn't make
Sneak
it
in. That was hours ago.
You didn't drop that on the table, get up on the table and scream it.
I dropped it in there. It was a quick little flex. I said there wasn't a 2-3 taken since 2000, and that happened to be my
By the way, Chris Ballard keeping his cards close to the vest, right? With Anthony Richardson. And that's the guy that a lot of teams were hoping was going to drop into the teens and jump up for. Right, and that really, I think, surprised a lot of the other teams.
Yeah.
And again, Chris Ballard, great job smoke screening everybody.
Yeah, the most physically gifted quarterback in this draft. Mm-hmm. And you can say probably has there been another quarterback that's been as imposing as him other than maybe Cam Newton in recent years.
Yeah, agreed.
And this is a guy that's big, strong, can throw it out of the gym, jump out of the gym. He is going to be a task to deal with if he can get every bit of being an NFL quarterback, the traits that studying the game.
Would you start him? Would you start him this season?
I would, but I've always been a proponent of, what a guy can handle is one. That's first of all. But I want to get him the live reps. To me, they get better with live reps.
All right, so Richardson going number 4 to Indianapolis. Seattle followed First cornerback taken was Witherspoon out of Illinois. Then the first offensive lineman taken, Paris Johnson, the Buckeye left tackle, went to Arizona, who traded out of that 3 spot, got down at number 6. The Raiders followed with Tyree Wilson, a big rangy defensive end from Texas Tech, another guy like Richardson's that's got a lot of upside and definitely some question marks as well. Bijan Robinson, Jay, the first running back taken at number 8 to Atlanta.
Right. And it kind of poo-pooed everything of, you just don't take a running back that high, right? And they looked at it and said, this guy is a complete game changer for us. There's so many. Think of what they could do there with Pitts, Drake London, and now having Bijan Robinson over there, and Arthur Smith is very creative as an offensive coach. And he's trying to get the most out of this young quarterback. He certainly is putting the weapons around him.
Right after that, Philadelphia and Chicago, LaVar made a trade. Philly moving up from 10 to 9, and they ended up taking Jalen Carter, the defensive tackle from Georgia.
I love what Philly is doing. I really do. I mean, they have stuck to a plan, a specific plan. I could be a funny guy and say, get a Georgia player, you'll be all right getting a Georgia guy. But in reality, they're getting some really, really solid players. I mean, to get those guys, to get Jalen, to get Carter, to get the outside backer. Tell me his name. I'm blanking on his name. Noah Smith. To get those guys in the first round and to continue to bolster what you have on that defensive side of the ball, already knowing you have such an explosive style offense, Philly is definitely the
one of the sneaky winners in this first round.
I don't even know if it's a sneaky winner, but they have continued to make their team better.
And by the way, talking to Howie Roseman, he was talking me up so much to Nolan Smith, who's convinced me that maybe Jalen Carter is a smoke screen, and he's going to go to Nolan Smith all the way up there at 10. They love Nolan Smith. Sorry, Steve.
And even if you have reservations about Jalen Carter, if you have reservations about him, a team like Philadelphia that's in a position that they're in is a team that should take a chance on a guy like that because they have nothing to lose. Yeah. They have a tremendously gifted team that has a great locker room, and they have a chance to take a guy and turn him into one of the better football players in the NFL.
And clearly they think culture. They clearly think their culture could handle anybody.
We're from PA.
Right.
And Philadelphia, PA, and Pittsburgh, PA is one of those places a Jalen Carter will be put in his place pretty quickly, if you know what I mean.
Some of the fans might do it. Yeah,
some of the city will do it. So he'll fit in. He'll probably fit in very nicely in the city of brotherly love, and and obviously having that many guys from college around him is going to give him that and that safety, that cover around him to be a good guidance for him.
From the city of brotherly love to the Windy City, Chicago there at number 10 took Darnell Wright, the Tennessee tackle, and then another Chicago guy, Northwestern's offensive tackle, Skoronski, became the 4th Big Ten player selected, going number 11 to Tennessee. There was talks that maybe that would be where Will Levis might fall again. No Will Levis here in the first round. Detroit trading to number 12, getting the 2nd running back, Jahmyr Gibbs, a talent that a lot of folks really liked, and he became the 3rd Alabama player taken here in the first round.
And by the way, they need another playmaker because they're losing Jamison Williams for the first part of the season.
Mm-hmm. He's explosive, coast-to-coast running back, Jahmyr is, and I mean he's one of those guys.
Explosive.
If he can take that type of explosiveness into the league, he'll be a fun one to watch on Sundays.
Another fast riser at number 13, Green Bay, taking Lucas Van Ness, the defensive end from Iowa. A lot of head shakes in the good direction on that one. And then we had a trade between Pittsburgh and New England. Pittsburgh moving up to number 14. When in doubt, why not take a Bulldog, right? Broderick Jones became the 3rd offensive lineman taken, the Bulldog. And then the Jets, who had quite a week, got themselves a really talented player, a Big 12 talent, Will McDonald, the 4th from Iowa State, 3rd, 3-time first team All Big 12. And then Emmanuel Forbes, the cornerback to Mississippi State, began our cornerback run. First it was Washington getting Forbes, and then New England getting Christian Gonzalez, who fell all the way down to number 17 to the Patriots.
Yeah, again, Forbes is a guy who really, really shot up here in the last week or so. People didn't have him that high up early, but every time you talk to another team, they're like, "Oh man, this guy is we love him." And it was the same thing. Really, really, really skinny, but man, is this guy a playmaker? And if he can keep healthy, you got yourself a potential perennial Pro Bowler.
Jack Campbell to Detroit, Cansey to Tampa Bay. A lot of folks like the Pittsburgh player heading that way.
Love him.
And then we began our run on wideouts. Jackson Smith and Jigba to Seattle at 20. Quentin Johnson to the Chargers at 21. Zay Flowers, the Boston College product. Everybody high on that one. Great day for the Baltimore Ravens, getting Flowers at number 22. And then another wideout again, fourth straight wideout, Jordan Addison to Minnesota. The Giants and Jacksonville did some dancing. Deontay Banks, the high-rising cornerback from Maryland, going to the G-men. Dalton Kincaid, the lone tight end selected in the first round, going to Buffalo. A pick that I know you like, LaVar. Mazi Smith, the defensive lineman from Michigan, going to the Cowboys at 26.
Very, very physical guy, explosive, mean. Again, he'll be one of those guys that falls right in line to what that personality that Dan Quinn has created with that defense. Obviously, I'm a big fan of Micah Parsons. That's just one of those defenses that you're going to look at and you're going to say that's a scary defense. Like, he makes them a scarier defense immediately day one.
Jacksonville, certainly a program on the rise. They added some big weight up front. Anton Harrison, the offensive tackle from Oklahoma, going number 27. Miles Murphy from Clemson to Cincinnati. New Orleans taking Brian Briza from Clemson. Nolan Smith, a nice pick for Philadelphia. We already talked about that, going at number 30. And then Anduke Uzuma from Kansas State going to Kansas City. And that is it. And round 2 starts tomorrow. The Pittsburgh Steelers, you are on the clock.